What's up, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the Wake and J College Football Show. Today is the recap for Week 3, and honestly, guys, this was a great weekend of football. A lot of blowouts, a lot of teams that were playing much lesser teams, so there was a lot of blowouts, but the marquee matchups in basically every single time slot, they delivered. So we did have I said it before previewing this week, that this was a sneaky, very good weekend for football, and I think that stood true. This was a very good weekend of college football. Um, so yeah, there's nothing else that we're getting into in this one. It is recapping this great week 3. Get into my betting recap, which I really don't want to. We will finish off with the Dude Are You High, which you'll realize later on I don't really want to do as well. But yeah, recapping week 3. Let's have a good wake and bake sesh. Let's get right into it. All right, recapping week 3. We're gonna start with Thursday's game, which feels like an absolute lifetime ago at this point. But I do want to touch on Thursday, Friday games, and then we'll get into the craziness that was Saturday. So Thursday we had NC State at Wake Forest. NC State did win 34 to 24. This was a game that Wake Forest got off to a hot start. They were up 24 to 10 at half, and then and they also returned the opening kickoff 98 yards for a touchdown or 95 yards, whatever, 90 plus yards for a touchdown to start the game. So I mean, they started off with a bang, got off to a hot start. Um, but then in that second half, I think they had 39 total yards of offense. They just completely collapsed. Um, which shout out to NC State's defense because so far through now 2.5 games, that defense has not looked good. So for them to hold Wake Forest to 39 yards total offense in that second half, that is a plus. Now it could be just because Wake Forest offense is that bad, but still, 39 yards. That's something to hang your hat on. Um, Essentially, when it comes to this game, he did not score any. I don't know if he had a receiving touchdown. I don't think he did. Um, but Hollywood Smothers just absolutely torched Wake Forest. They had absolutely no answer for him. I think he had like 6 plus yards per carry. Like I mentioned, he didn't score any rushing touchdowns, but they still had absolutely no answer for him. C.J. Bailey threw for 3 touchdowns. He looked fine. Wasn't anything spectacular. But yeah, Wake Forest, tough break. Friday night, we had Colorado and Houston. Houston wins 36 to 20. My goodness, Colorado might be bad. Dion came out earlier this week that Ryan Staub was going to be the starter, which was bizarre. Because you had the whole offseason of Julian Lewis, Caden Salter. Obviously leaning towards Caden Salter was going to be the starter this season, and then Caden Salter plays 1.5 games, and then loses his job to Ryan Staub, who was the third string quarterback going into the season. Um, it was it was a decision. I'll just say that because Colorado did not play good. Ryan Staub did not play good. Um, I think they played good for take away like the garbage time touchdown that they had. They played good for 2 drives in the second quarter, and they were back-to-back drives. On those 2 drives, they had 181 yards combined, scored 14 points on 2 drives, back-to-back to end that second quarter, that first half. Their other 10 drives combined in that game, 119 total yards and 6 points. Just brutal. Granted, Houston did have a good defense last year. I think their defense is still pretty good this year, so that does play a part into it, but that's really bad, Colorado. That's not good at all. Um, Now, after one game, I was saying how Caden Salter may not be that good. I think Colorado just might not be that good. It might not even be. Caden Salter may be just fine. Colorado themselves, I think, might be that bad. Ryan Staub was just not good too. Just the fact that he he won the starting job is crazy to me. Because again, I said Caden Salter was not good, but my goodness, it was Ryan Staub. My oh my. Now after week 1, we did see Colorado struggle to stop Georgia Tech, to stop Haynes King specifically. So kind of got the idea of all right, if quarterback's really good at running the ball, they may struggle. And Connor Wegman had a great game. 222 passing yards, 83 rushing yards. I think he had 3 touchdowns, 2 touchdowns. I don't quite remember. Um, I like Houston this year. I don't think they're going to win the Big 12, obviously. Well, I shouldn't say obviously at this point because there's some surprise teams in the Big 12 that are not looking so hot. But I do like Houston this year. I think they are having a very good year. They're taking that next step forward. It's good to see. Uh, Another Big 12 matchup on Friday night, although this was technically a non-conference game. Uh, Kansas State and Arizona. Arizona wins 23-17. I mean, Kansas State needs a bye week in the worst possible way. Just it has been a brutal start to the season. Avery Johnson, after that game against Iowa State, everybody was saying how he was trash, yada yada yada, and I said, hold on, pump the brakes. It's one game. It was also the first game of the season. It was and there was a lot of factors into that game. Maybe Iowa State's defense is really good. All of that. So let's pump the brakes. Let's just wait. I think it's official. I think Avery Johnson's not good. At halftime, he was 6 of 12 for 15 yards. What the hell is that? Arizona had over 250 yards of total offense in that first half, and Kansas State was held to 44 total yards of offense. Just an abysmal showing from Kansas State against Arizona, who I don't think Arizona is that good this year. Now I will say, while Fafita did still struggle to throw the ball a little bit in this game, he wasn't great. He was also very effective with his legs, and I do think as much as I thought the loss of McMillan was going to hurt Fafita, I think it's also in a way helped him because he is now having to distribute the ball more than he would and actually look at other options. And I think it is good for his growth. Um, didn't have the greatest game, but I do think Kansas State's defense is still pretty solid. It's the offense that is just bad. Now, Arizona was up 17-3 at halftime. Um, and Kansas State had probably the best opening 5 minutes to a second half that anybody could have because they're down 17-3. They come out and right off the bat, Jace Brown, wide receiver, not even a running back, busts off a 75-yard touchdown run. And all of a sudden, look at that, Kansas State's down 7. They force Arizona to go 3-and-out. Again, I think Kansas State's defense is pretty good. They're one of those defenses that they play good, play good, play good, and then boom, they let up an explosive play. Play good, play good, play good, boom, let up an explosive play. They're just that type of defense where they play good for 90-95% of the game, and then they just have those moments where they allow those explosive plays and it kills them. But they did force Arizona to go 3-and-out right after that, and then immediately blocked the punt after the punter did fumble the snap, so that led to the block. But blocked the punt, got a short field, scored a touchdown, and all of a sudden we had a tie game less than 5 minutes into the second half. Unfortunately, after that 5 minutes, Kansas State did not do anything else. Arizona was able to do enough offensively, kicked 2 field goals to ultimately win the game. Um, Kansas State needs a bye week so badly. Avery Johnson is bad. The offense is bad. Defense, too many explosive plays. There are so many things that need to be fixed. They need a bye week so badly. And then I did not preview this game. I do just want to touch on it briefly, and I only have one thing to say about this game. New Mexico traveled to UCLA, which UCLA paid New Mexico to play them. I'm pretty sure that's usually the case with these types of games, and proceeded to lose 35-10 in front of like 400 people. I don't know if you saw a picture of that stadium or that crowd. It was depressing. Um, Only thing I have to say about this game: UCLA is very bad. That is all. Moving on to Saturday's games. Now, this noon slate had a lot of just stinkers. There was one really good game, and we will get into that one. So I'll just kind of briefly touch on all of them. Oregon traveled to Northwestern and won 34-14. Now, that score shows that this game was much closer than it actually was because those 2 touchdowns for Northwestern came in garbage time. Oregon was winning 34 to nothing at that point, and we will touch on this game later because I'm very upset with Oregon. Preston Stone in the first half was 4 of 7, 21 yards, or 27 yards in an interception. No, wait, 21 yards in an interception. Not good. Regardless, 27-21 doesn't matter. Not good. Dante Moore, on the other hand, was 13 to 16, 125 yards and one touchdown. Just two drastically different stat lines. I don't always throw out first half stats, but when they're that drastic or that terrible, I have to point them out. It was just brutal. Um, Oregon or Northwestern had 70 yards of total offense in the first half. Just brutal. They were only down 17 to nothing, which I guess congrats. That's pretty good. I would have expected worse. Uh, it still was ultimate domination from start to finish. Oregon was up 34 to nothing, like I mentioned. The two touchdowns came in garbage time. I think one was like a 70-yard touchdown run, 79-yard touchdown run. Outside of that one explosive play and then another drive, I guess. This game, like I said, even though 34 to 14 is not a close game, that score shows this game to have been much closer than it actually was. Wisconsin at Alabama. Alabama wins 38 to 14. I mean, it was 21 nothing at half. Just Wisconsin is a bottom five team in the Big Ten, and I feel pretty confident in saying that I had them as a bottom five team going into the season. And I think through 3 games, granted, I know they're on their backup quarterback, so that does not help. But through 3 games, I feel pretty confident in saying that they are a bottom five team in the Big Ten. Ty Simpson struggled against Florida State, went off against ULM, which you expect. You would hope he would go off against them. Absolutely torched Wisconsin. 24 of 29, 382 yards and 4 touchdowns. Ryan Williams, 5 receptions, 165 yards and 2 touchdowns. Just, again, this was just absolute domination from start to finish. Wisconsin was held to 209 yards of total offense, turned the ball over a couple times. Daniel Neal didn't look great. The offense as a whole didn't look great. Um, Wisconsin, when you usually think of a Wisconsin team, you think very good run game. But they managed 92 yards on the ground and 2.7 yards per carry. Like I said, Wisconsin, I think, is a bottom five Big Ten team. All right, so moving on to the biggest game in the noon slot. And some might argue like the biggest game of the day, best game of the day. That's up for debate because there was a lot of good games or a handful of good games. Uh, Number 12 Clemson at Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech comes away with the upset 24 to 21, walking it off with a 55-yard field goal to win it. Just insane. I say it all the time. I'm going to keep saying it. If, and this is a huge if, but if Haynes King can stay healthy, if Haynes King plays, Georgia Tech always has a shot to win the game. Always, without a doubt. If he can stay healthy. That's the biggest if, because that dude is so beat up after every single game. I can't imagine how he feels waking up Sunday mornings. Dude's got to feel like absolute garbage. But if he plays, Georgia Tech always has a shot. He is an absolute dog. Finished the game with just over 200 yards passing, had 25 carries for 103 yards and a touchdown. My goodness, absolute dog. Now, I had Clemson losing this game going into the season. I have been high on Georgia Tech. I'm always high on Georgia Tech as long as Haynes King is playing. Um, if he stays healthy and plays most of the games or every game, because he already missed one, which is not a good sign, Georgia Tech's making the playoffs. I'll just say it right now. Uh, I will say, me picking Cade Klubnik to win the Heisman is looking trash right now, because he has not looked great through 3 games. That offense is just absolutely struggled. I think having a converted wide receiver as your starting running back may not be the greatest thing for Clemson. Although he didn't have a terrible game, so maybe I'm wrong in saying that, but it just feels like that was an issue, and I think it could be an issue moving forward. Now, moving forward, Clemson has a relatively easy schedule. That South Carolina game is looking much more manageable at this point, which we'll get into later. I still think Clemson has a shot to win the ACC. I do think they still have a shot to make the playoffs. But we are not off to a good start. And I did have Clemson playing for the national title game. I did not have them winning. I know some people out there did. I I did not see a world where Clemson's winning the national title. Um, I did have them playing for it, and that's unfortunate for me because I don't know if that's going to happen because this looks like the same Clemson team from last year. Beat every team that they're supposed to, play a good team, they struggle, and I think that's what we're going to see this year. All right, moving on to the afternoon game, we will save the best for last because again, not a lot of great games in that afternoon slot. Otherwise, um, we'll start with this one just because I don't have much to say on it. Miami 49, USF 12. Miami's the number 5 team in the country. USF is the number 18. Cinderella story, I guess, is technically over now. But I do still think USF is a very good team. I do still think they are a top 25 team, so I don't think they should be bumped from the top 25. I do think that they're a real shot to make the playoffs. I did not have them making the playoffs, but I did have them finishing top 25, so let's not overreact. They have gotten off to a great start. They shouldn't. They should still be in the top 25, even if you have them at 25. Leave them there. But Carson Beck has looked really good. He did throw two interceptions in this game. Otherwise, he was 23 of 28, 340 yards, 3 touchdowns. Outside those 2 interceptions, he just looks so comfortable, so confident. Uh, this is this is the Carson Beck we expected at Georgia. I think the change of scenery has been great for him. Now it's Mario Cristobal. He's gonna screw this up one way or another, but Miami looks like a really good team right now. Then we have USC at Purdue. Also, a common theme with a lot of these afternoon games, a lot of rainouts, and not even just in one area of the country, all over. Because Miami, that game being played in Miami, that had a rain delay of, I don't know, a few hours. Purdue and USC, which is in Indiana, had like a 3 hour rain delay, and then uh, Texas Tech game, which we will touch on here, the game at Texas Tech was also rain delay for like 2.5 hours, and that's in Texas. So all over the country, we just had raining out the afternoon games. It just threw off the whole schedule. It was hard to get eyes on some of these games because they were delayed so long. Um, so I didn't get to watch as much of USC and Purdue or Oregon State and Texas Tech, which quite honestly I wasn't missing much from what the little I did see. But USC 33, Purdue 17. Uh, Purdue actually had some success moving the ball against USC, which was encouraging to see. Now, Ryan Brown did throw 3 interceptions, which is not great. One of which was returned for a touchdown. I don't know if you saw it. It was a defensive tackle just chugging his way like 70 yards for a touchdown. Ryan Brown got wrecked, actually, while he threw it, just popped straight up in the air right into his arms. The offensive lineman couldn't keep up with him. Um, but all 3 interceptions came after when Purdue was able to get into the red zone. That one that was just up in the air, popped up in the air, that was at the 20-yard line. Every other one was inside the red zone or 10-yard line even. Uh, I will be honest, I came away from this game. I guess it's hard to know if I am a little higher on Purdue than I was going into the season. Not that I'm still high on them at all, or if I'm down on USC because it wasn't. I mean, the defense getting those 3 turnovers was fantastic and helpful, obviously, but you still allowed. You were a very bend don't break defense, but when you face a better team, are you then going to be a bend and break defense? And so I guess that would be my one takeaway from this, but it's possible that I'm just a little higher on Purdue than I was going into the season, but I'm still not high on them. Oregon State at Texas Tech. Texas Tech's the 21st ranked team in the country. Oregon State, they might be really bad. Texas Tech wins 45-14, and this score, similar to the Oregon game, the score shows it to be a lot closer than it actually was. Because it was 45-0 with like 5 minutes left in the game when Oregon State scored their first touchdown and then scored one more after that. And I think when we take away from this game is that Oregon State is just a really bad team. Now, I'm not saying Texas Tech's not a good team, but they did what they should do against a team like Oregon State and just absolutely demolish them. I'm not saying that means Texas Tech is this great team and is going to win the Big 12. They have a shot, obviously, but I think Oregon State is just that bad, unfortunately for them. And they are much worse off than I thought they would be going into the season. All right, game of the day: Georgia at Tennessee at Neyland Stadium. Georgia's the number 16, Tennessee's the number 15 team. And if you had me rank all the ways that I thought this game was going to go, at the very bottom or not even listed would have been a shootout going into overtime. Not on my way so far down on my list. I did not expect it to go that way. I thought the defenses were going to shine. And honestly, this game looked like it was going to be your typical Josh Heupel against Georgia game where Josh Heupel gets off to a huge first quarter start, scoring on the first drive and looking great, and then just poops the bed the rest of the game. And it definitely looked that way because Tennessee got off to a 21-7 lead in the first quarter and then did not score again until there were 7 seconds left in the third. Absolutely brutal. I did. It really was trending the way of a typical Josh Heupel game against Georgia. Props to him for putting together a good fourth quarter. Didn't quite finish the way that he would have liked, or I think he could take some things back. He would. Um, Now Tennessee was without their two starting cornerbacks, which Dramon McCoy has not played all year. Ricky Gibson is out. So you're down to, I think it was Colton Hood and then a freshman cornerback in Ty Redmond. And I didn't think Gunnar Stockton was going to be good enough to take advantage of the fact that Tennessee's without their two starting cornerbacks. Turns out he is. Picked on Ty Redmond all game long. Finished the game 23 of 31, 304 yards and two touchdowns, and threw a beautiful ball for a touchdown to London Humphreys, I believe is who it was. Just perfect over the shoulder. Great throw, great catch to tie the game with like 2 minutes and 30 seconds left in the game. Now, hindsight being 2020, so it's hard to say because in the moment you're a lot of things going through your head, and if it works, it works. Fortunately, it didn't work for Josh Heupel. But if he could go back and change one thing, now some people are going to argue it was after they recovered the fumble, ran the ball 3 straight times, and settled for a field goal. Some might say do that over, go for the kill. Fine, sure. But you get the ball with 2 minutes and 30 seconds left. It's tied 38-38. You you get into Georgia territory and you're moving the ball relatively successfully, getting 3, 4, 5 yards at a pop. And then 7 seconds left in the game, you have a false start, and you're basically running one more play, getting it to the spot that the kicker likes, and then calling a timeout and settling for a field goal. You get a false start, you get backed up, you decide, screw it, we're kicking the field goal, and your kicker misses. Instead of settling for a field goal, go for the kill there. Go for the kill and put Georgia out of their misery and win that game and break that little curse that you have against Georgia. I think if he could redo it, obviously, especially knowing that the kicker missed that 43-yard field goal, go for the kill shot on that drive instead of settling. And I think he's going to look back on that drive and think that for a while. Because yeah, he missed the field goal, missed the 43-yard field goal, and then Georgia just absolutely dominated them in overtime, which you almost expect from a Kirby Smart team. If I am going to give my flowers to one Tennessee player, it is Chris Brazzell. Because if Chris Brazzell didn't have the game that he had, Tennessee didn't have a shot in this one. Because some of those catches that Brazzell had were not great throws from Joey Aguilar. It was a hope and a prayer that he threw up there, and Chris Brazzell made the play, or the Georgia defender fell down, or this or that. But he finished the game with 6 receptions, 177 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Starting to put on like a Jalen Hyatt type game for a minute there. But yeah, I got to give my flowers to Chris Brazzell. Great game. Honestly, game of the day. 44-41 in overtime. That's always going to be exciting. I was completely wrong, though. I thought both of these defenses were going to dominate, and I couldn't have been more wrong. Tennessee's defense might not be very good. Might not be as good as I thought they were, I should say. I still think they're good enough to maybe make the playoffs, but they might not be as good as I originally thought going in. Now, being down your two starting cornerbacks, we'll see once they start to come back how that shapes out. But right now, oof, not ideal. Moving on to the final game in the afternoon slot, the backyard brawl, West Virginia and Pitt. West Virginia comes away with the win in overtime, 31-24. And I don't want to poo-poo on West Virginia's win because congrats to you on getting this win. I don't think you're going to have the greatest season, so get these wins when you can. Celebrate each and every one. Enjoy it. Soak in it. But it really does feel like this is a game that Pitt lost more than West Virginia won. Pitt had 14 penalties for 118 yards, and they allowed 6 sacks. Just shot themselves in the foot time after time. And they left so many points on the field, too. If you look back, they missed a 43-yard field goal. That's 3 points right there. Got within West Virginia's 10-yard line through an interception. That's arguably up to 7 points, but at least three right there. Had to settle for a field goal when they got in at West Virginia's 5-yard line. At that point, just go for it. But settled for a field goal, so that's 4 points you lost right there. They turned West Virginia over and started at their own at West Virginia's 14-yard line. Ran 3 plays for negative 14 yards because of penalties and had to settle for a field goal. That's another 4 points right there. So we're looking at almost 2 touchdowns worth if you just go with the minimum of field goals or points lost because you settled for a field goal instead. That's I'm not trying to poo-poo West Virginia's win, but that's not a good recipe for a win. When you look at Pitt's drives in this game and just how much they shot themselves in the foot with penalties and untimely turnovers and just not being aggressive on like fourth downs and whatnot. But it just feels West Virginia just gave Pitt every chance, and Pitt just did not want to take advantage. But congrats to West Virginia. I don't want to disparage your win. I don't want to poo-poo on it. But my goodness, Pitt, what an ugly game. All right, bumping up to the evening and late night games. Arkansas at Ole Miss. Ole Miss is number 17 in the country, and Ole Miss comes away with the win, 41-35. Defense was absolutely optional in this one, which doesn't surprise me, to be honest, because Arkansas does have an electric quarterback, a great offense. Ole Miss obviously has a very good offense. Arkansas's never really had a good defense, and when it comes to Lane Kiffin's focus on his team, it's definitely offense is always going to be better than the defense. Um, Taylor Green continues to have a career year. Finished the game with 305 yards passing, 115 yards on the ground, 2 total touchdowns. Austin Simmons was questionable going into this game. He did play briefly, but for the most part, it was Chambliss taking all the snaps and I believe starting the game actually. And he was great. 353 yards through the air, 62 on the ground, 3 total touchdowns. And so far through 3 games into the season, Ole Miss has not really done anything to convince me that they're a great team. I think they are a good team. I don't think they're top of the SEC competing for a playoff spot good though. Uh, and I do say again, trying not to overreact just through 3 weeks, but Arkansas has done enough, I believe, in my mind at least, to confirm that they are not, in fact, the worst team in the SEC. I know I've been giving that title to Kentucky, and rightfully so, but seeing Mississippi State have success, seeing Arkansas keep it close against Ole Miss and have success, um, it just further solidifies that. Speaking of potential worst teams in the SEC, Florida 10, LSU 20. I mean, I said it last week that Napier was, I guess, probably fired at this point, but there's still a lot of season left, just a lot of big games. If Florida kind of turns it around, they might forget about that loss again, because I do believe USF might finish the season ranked as well. And that looks like a better loss at the end of the season than it does right now. But I think that's over. Because what the hell was that, DJ Lagway? 5 total interceptions, some ugly interceptions, just an absolutely terrible game. Couldn't get anything going on the run game, threw 5 interceptions. And Lagway did throw for like 287 yards, which you might think, oh, well, that's good. I mean, 5 interceptions isn't, but 287 yards, yeah, okay, that's fine. Took him nearly 50 attempts to get there. It was just, this LSU defense is good. I do think it's also a little bit of this Florida offense is not good, but LSU's defense is also good at the same time because five interceptions and just absolutely shutting down every aspect of that offense is impressive. Um, we are 3 games into the season though, and we have not seen LSU's offense really pop. really explode, really show us that they are a team that you should be scared of offensively. In this one, they only scored 13 points, and the offense only scored 13 points because 7 points did come from an interception that lagged way through that was returned for a touchdown. Um, I think the offense has some things they need to figure out. Again, maybe it's just because Clemson's defense is really that good. Maybe Florida's defense is just really good. They did struggle against Louisiana Tech, but maybe Louisiana Tech's defense is just really good. But through 3 weeks, I would have expected this offense to have popped at least once, and so far they have not. That does make me a little nervous moving forward for them, but this defense has been great. Uh, Vanderbilt 31, South Carolina 7. South Carolina is the number 11 team in the country. I told you. Um, I didn't think going into the season that South Carolina would lose this game, but after 2 weeks into the season, I was like, okay, this is a game that they're going to lose. Uh, they have so many problems offensively. Now, I know Lenore Sellers did go out with an injury, so spare me that. Even if he had played, I still think Vanderbilt wins this game. Um, they have so much they need to fix. 4 turnovers, allowed 8 tackles for loss, went 5 of 15 on third and fourth down. That's not going to win you games. And you didn't have your special teams return a touchdown for you, kick for a touchdown, which they've been relying on the last couple weeks to essentially win these games by more than they, to make it look like they won the games by more than they really should have. Um, South Carolina's worse this year than they were last year. I'm not saying that they're a bad team, but I do think they finished outside the top 25. They were a team that I said going into the season would finish outside top 25. I think this is an 8-4, 7-5 team this year. Game of the night: Texas A&M 41, Notre Dame 40. Texas is number 16 in the country, Notre Dame 8. What a game. This literally came down to Tyler Buckner fumbling the extra point, fumbling the snap on the extra point when Notre Dame took the lead with just under 3 minutes left in the game, and that proved to be the difference in it. Just absolutely brutal. The broadcast was so ruthless. Just kept showing him on the sideline after that fumble, just constantly as Texas A&M was driving to take the lead. They just kept zooming in on him on the sidelines, which was just brutal for him. Um, Neither defense was really good in this game, which was shocking. Both offenses had over 400. I guess, okay. So both offenses did have over 400 total yards. And while neither defense was necessarily really good, when we look at like Texas A&M, Marcel Reed was not good either, though. You could argue that Notre Dame's defense just allowed too many explosives, and I will agree with that. So they were playing good, playing good, playing good, and then would allow an explosive play, and in the end, it hurt them. But Marcel Reed did not play good, and you could argue that Craver and Concepcion absolutely bailed him out more often than not. He was 17 of 37, which is under, that's like a 45, 46 completion percentage. That's brutal. But those 17 completions went for 360 yards, which is absolutely insane. I think his attempt per completion was like, or his yards per completion were like 20 or 21, which is absolutely crazy. Just too many explosive plays from that Notre Dame defense. Uh, Mario Craver, 7 receptions, 207 yards, only had 1 touchdown, but 207 yards. Just brutal for Notre Dame's secondary. But again, kept Marcel Reed of 17 of 37, which is not good, and some of his throws too were just ugly throws. So I mean, it really was, the wide receivers bailed him out more than he did anything, because clearly 17 of 37 is not good. Now, I do see a lot of people saying that it's official that Notre Dame is out of the playoffs, and I'm not going to go that far yet. Is it a lot less likely now? For sure. Do they have to win out the rest of the season? They do. If they do win out and they do go 10-2, they're definitely going to be in the conversation, and it is possible because we don't know what's going to happen the rest of the season. That a 10-2 Notre Dame team may still make the playoffs, but that being said, it is a lot less likely now. But what I will say about Notre Dame is now that they are 0-2, they were the number 8 team in the country. they can't be top 25 anymore. I'm sorry. They can be number 26, number 27, 28, whatever. I don't care. They can't be top 25 at 0-2, though. I just can't do it. Sorry. They better not have them top 25. Boston College at Stanford. Stanford comes away with a 30-20 win, and I just did not see this coming. Stanford is such a bad team. I just didn't think this was possible. I thought San Jose State was going to be Stanford's only win the rest of the season. I thought Boston College was good enough to win this game by 2 scores. Unfortunately, Stanford wins by 2 scores. Now, congrats to Stanford, because this is huge. Again, I did not see this coming. Boston College, what are we doing? 3 turnovers. 2 of those were inside the red zone. One was on 4th and goal as running backs trying to dive over the goal line and it gets popped out. And then the 3rd turnover was returned for a touchdown. Stanford, and then those two other turnovers that were in the red zone, Stanford was able to capitalize on those and score touchdowns on the next drives after that. Brutal. Just absolutely brutal. Tough look for Boston College losing to Stanford of all teams. Now, shout out to Ben Gulbranson. I don't know if this is because of Boston College's defense, or maybe he's just kind of figured something out, but he did not look as terrible as he had in the previous 2 games. Shout out to him for that. And going into this game, I had said that Boston College's run game has been very bad. That is something that they do need to get figured out at some point this season, because otherwise it will bite them in the ass. I didn't think that this was going to be the game, but turns out it was. Boston College, figure out your run game because it's going to hurt you moving forward. It's already hurting you. All right, final game that we're going to talk about, and I really don't want to talk about it. Minnesota 14, Cal 27. I mean, I have a lot of bad words that I want to say about this game. I'll just say this. I am highly unpleased with what I watched. Play calling was questionable. Turnovers were killer. Penalties at terrible times. Just an overall frustrating game. Got to give my flowers to Jaron Chiave Sangapulatelli. Absolutely great. Yes, he had some few questionable plays, or maybe he should have gotten rid of the ball sooner, or this or that. Overall, he played great. He looks great. It's why he's number 1 in my freshman quarterback rankings. He just looks phenomenal. That being said, Drake Lindsey did not play bad either. He maybe didn't have, because you look at Jaron Sangapulatelli, threw for 279 yards, 3 touchdowns, but the ball placement on his throws was phenomenal. Just threw the ball right where it needed to be, away from the defenders. It was beautiful. And I don't want that to overshadow how good Drake Lindsey also played. Did throw an interception, maybe didn't have, the ball placement or the beautiful throws that Sangapulatelli had. But also, for him to I think I don't have a stat line in front of me, threw for over 200 yards, completed a solid amount, like 20, 19, 20, something like that. His receivers were not getting open. They were not getting space from these defenders. And so for him to have the stats that he did and to play as well as he did when his receivers were not getting separation, phenomenal. Props to him. Darius Taylor was out, which is not great. I didn't think it would be a problem, but then Turner went down with an injury, which, again, not ideal. Didn't love that. And then Cam Davis, your 3rd-string running back, could not get anything going in the run game. Just struggled all game long. So shout out to Fame Ijiboy. I hope I pronounced his name correctly, for giving the run game some life. Just an overall frustrating game. And there is a game every year that PJ Fleck loses that he's not supposed to lose. Every single year he does this. And I'm trying not to complain because if you ask me in the grand scheme of things and overall, am I pleased with PJ Fleck as a head coach? Yes. But it's the game like this every single year that the Gophers should win, and then the play calling is just atrocious and a very frustrating, winnable game that I lose my patience. And these are usually the games that I show up for the show not wearing anything Gopher related. It's too early in the season to do that. I'm going to let it pass this time. I just really hope that the Gophers do not lose a game like this the rest of the year because that was so frustrating to watch. This was a very winnable game. And I'm trying not to be too dramatic, but my over 6.5 win ticket that I have right now is not looking too hot. Now, I think most of the games rest of the season are winnable. That was such a bad loss. A couple other scores that I just want to touch on around college football. Tulane 34, Duke 27. Tulane beating Duke, who took their quarterback from last year, Darian Mensah. So that's got to be sweet revenge for Tulane. Ooh, this next one. Old Dominion 45, Virginia Tech 26. Brent Pry is gone. Virginia Tech is very bad, and the fact that South Carolina struggled so hard against this Virginia Tech team is not looking great. Now, some are going to argue, oh well, Vanderbilt also struggled. No, Vanderbilt had two bad drives in that game in the first half, and then played great the rest of the game. Um, I don't really think Vanderbilt struggled nearly as much as people are saying they did. But Virginia Tech, very bad team. Uh, Texas 27, UTEP 10. That is a score that probably should not have been that close. And Arch Manning, I'm willing to say it now. Arch Manning might be bad. 11 of 25, 114 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Not great. And then finally, Iowa State 24, Arkansas State 16. Iowa State is 4-0. But a lot of those wins are close wins against bad teams. Iowa has not looked great. They have against non-Power 4 opponents. Kansas State has not looked good. Who else did they beat? They beat South Dakota, but that's an FCS team, so we're not going to count them. And then struggling against Arkansas State here. They're 4-0. Can't ask for much more than that, but I think they also need a bye week as badly as Kansas State does. Just not in the same way. Okay. Something I don't want to talk about. Actually, these next two sections I don't want to talk about, but we got to talk about my betting this last weekend. 1-4 this week. Absolutely brutal performance from me. Now, I guess none of these really had a shot. Oregon minus 28.5. That one was probably the closest one. That's a tough beat because Northwestern scored 2 touchdowns in the final however many minutes in the fourth quarter to absolutely kill this one. But it was looking promising the whole game until that point. Pitt minus 7.5. I mean, we talked about the game, shot themselves in the foot time after time. This game should have been, if they play it again, I think Pitt wins by a lot, and I think they win by more than a touchdown. But yeah, this one never had a shot. Notre Dame under 28.5. As soon as there was that blocked punt in the first quarter, and then they had that first drive, their first actual drive to score a touchdown. Never had a shot. Notre Dame under 28.5. And then this next one kind of goes hand in hand with the next segment. Cal under 20.5. I mean, in all reality, if the Gophers don't muff that punt in the fourth quarter, Cal does not get more than 20 points in this game. And then the one bet that did win, Tennessee plus 4.5. First quarter, never in doubt. Second and third quarter, a little bit in doubt, and in that whole fourth quarter, never in doubt. Tennessee was going to cover. But that was the only good one we had going this week. Power 4 Moneyline Parlay also did not hit. Minnesota and Pitt both lost. ASU and Vandy did win. Just an absolutely brutal weekend. I hate when this happens. It's so discouraging. I will be better though this next week. That is a promise I will make as well. It's hard to go worse. Let's just put it that way. So this is usually my favorite segment, but this week it is not my favorite segment. This week's winner of Dude, Are You High? Unfortunately, is going to Koi Parrish. Okay, I'll say this real quick. For everybody that's complaining that him playing offense is taken away from his development on defense, relax. He's not playing enough offensively for it to take away from the defense. We need to relax for a second. It was one game. Where he is winning this award, though, is in the return game. It feels like when it comes to being a punt returner, I think rule number one is you plant your feet on the 10-yard line. Some might say the 15, but you plant your feet on that 10-yard line. If the ball is going over your head, you do not catch it. So what are we doing fielding a punt inside the 10-yard line? Okay, whatever. It happens. Get past it. And then in the fourth quarter, Minnesota is down 17-14. They're getting the ball back. Cal punts it, and the ball's bouncing. Coy's yelling for everybody to get away. And then he decides last second, you know what? Ball's bouncing right to me. Why don't I just pick it up and try to make a play? Never gets a grasp on it. Tries to start moving before he actually grabs it, uh, which turns into a fumble. Cal recovers it, short field, scores a touchdown, game over. Just, dude, are you high? Relax. Stop trying to make a play when one doesn't. You don't need to always make a play. You don't always have to go for the home run. Just take a breath. Let that ball hopefully bounce into the end zone. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But you can't be doing that. I don't want to say he lost the game for the Gophers because there was plenty of other things that the Gophers did that lost this game. But that sure didn't help, and it did win him the award of dude. Are you high? Thank y'all for joining me. It was a fantastic week 3. I said it going into the week that this could be a sneaky good weekend, and it was. Yes, there were a lot of blowouts, but every marquee matchup delivered. It's everything you hope for when you watch college football every week. I'll be back later this week to preview week 4. I'll talk to you then.